All right, hello, Madison. I am going over your research report. Sometimes I'll do these with video just because it's a little easier for me, and I think a lot of students say they appreciate it because it's kind of like looking over my shoulder as I grade it. So feel free to let me know what you think about it. Give me some feedback if you'd like to. Let's get right into it. So your formatting up here looks just right. Page numbering up in the header looks like. Resource report. Now remember, titles should have all the major words in it capitalized. So that's the only thing that you need to do to fix that. Just capitalize connection and child and trauma and all that. All right. Imagine you are 8 years old and part of your everyday life is shouting, violence, abuse, and neglect. Okay, so you have a quote in here, or a source material in here, according to the National Institute. Remember that anytime you cite something, even in the introduction, anytime you cite a source, you have to put the parenthetical at the end. And the parenthetical, of course, consists of um, the name of the author, if there is one. In this case, since you got this from the National Institute of Justice, there probably wasn't an author named. So you would put in there, since you already put National Institute of Justice in your signal phrase, then in the period here, inside the period, you would put a set of uh, parentheses, and then you would put the page number, um, or if it didn't have page number, you'd put the paragraph number. If you do paragraph number, you'd put PAR, little p, AR, period, and then the number inside the parenthetical, right? And then the period come after the parentheses. And that's what you'll do for all of them. Just make sure that you cite all of them throughout there. And if you need help, please be sure to refer to the that video in the supplementary videos that's titled um, integrating sources. Okay, it'll show you just what I'm talking about. Okay. Um, all right. Now, some of the some of what I'm seeing here. Okay. Yeah, some of what I'm seeing here, even though it's just the first paragraph, I'm seeing some things here that I think are a little bit of an indicator of you maybe having used AI. Now, I don't want to scare you or anything, and I'm not accusing you of anything. But if you did use AI to this, then what I need or to write this or help you write it, then what I need you to do is I need you to let me know. Um, tell me if you did that, and then what I'll do is I'll let you have a chance to rewrite it the right way without using AI, and there'll be no harm, no foul. I won't count it against you or anything. I'll give you credit for turning it in still, if you just fix it and remove the AI, make it yours, okay? Because some things here do look like the way AI writes papers. Um, so yeah, and you don't really have a solid thesis statement, which, well, there it is. There's your thesis statement. It's just not in the introductory paragraph, which normally where I expect to see it. Um, Let me go ahead and just give it a quick look-see, and that way, if you didn't use AI and I'm just not I'm not seeing it quite right, I'm misunderstanding it, then you can let me know that, and we'll go from there and let you uh, submit it if you can show me that for sure that you didn't use AI. So let's see. So your thesis statement looks fine. Let's see what your literature review looks like. Your literature review, childhood trauma is a critical issue due to its effects on. Okay, so again, some of this is looking like AI. Okay, here's your first citation in the literature review. One study by researchers. Okay, so you're writing this in MLA, which is what having a heading here indicates. If you were intended to write this in APA, then it should have not have had a heading. Instead, it should have had a whole title page that would have been the first page and then this page. And the title would have gone up here just by itself on the second page. So it appears to me like you intended to write it in MLA. And the easy way to fix it is going to just be to leave it leave it as MLA and just remove these dates, because you do not want to have the year there, as that is indicative of APA. Okay, so just remove that, and let's see about the rest here. There's a good introductory phrase here, good signal phrase, by the way, but you are missing that parenthetical. So you got to have the parentheticals, a set of parentheses at the end with, like since you put their names up here, all you'd need in the parenthetical would be a page or paragraph number, but you have to have the parentheticals at the end of each piece of source material, because that's how your reader, and namely me, can see where your source material starts and stops, and that way we can tell the difference between it and between your voice. Okay, so that must be fixed. Okay, let me go on here, kind of skim a few things here. Same thing here. It's always best to start with a point and then let the source material back up the point, rather than starting with the source material. So same thing here. Think about that. It's always good to make it, because your first sentence in a paragraph should be what we call the topic sentence. And that topic sentence makes a point. And then after you make that point with the topic sentence, then you provide the source material to back up that topic sentence. Okay. So do that with them. Now you do talk about the gap here. That's great. Okay, no, that's okay. Here you talk about the gap in the research. So that's great. Good job with that. All right, methods. Okay, the secondary research discussion here is far too brief. You really need to talk a little bit. Look at the sample to see what it should look like. In there, you need to talk about what kind of research like where you talk about what you found, but how did you want to talk about how what your criteria was for evaluating them, and how they went through, how they passed or didn't pass that criteria. You want to just elaborate a little bit more here instead of making it so very just like skeletal. Right. Okay, so primary research involves structured interviews with research workers. Okay, you all give at least a couple questions, samples of the actual questions you asked, so your audience can see the kind of questions you were working with. And then you have your challenges. Remember to bold that as well. You up in there where you talked about the gap, you put that in bold. That's great. You want a gap anywhere where you talk about a weakness or a gap or a problem, put that in bold. Okay, so just the word itself is all you need to do. So here you just put the word challenges in bold. Good. All right. Results and discussion. Again, remove those and add in your parentheticals at the end of each source citation, like here, for example. Now, this seems to be a lot of source material without your voice interspersed in it. So you got to make sure that your voice is in there more than source material. Okay, so every time you cite a source material, you should start with, what you want to do is look up the hamburger method, which is in the materials back in week 9 or 10. There's a discussion about how to use this hamburger method. The hamburger method is where you make sure you use your voice before and after the source material. So the source material is the meat in the hamburger, and then your voice at the top is the top bun to introduce the point. Source material is the meat, and then you have to have your voice come in again after that source citation to help your audience understand the point you're making there and how these two work together. Okay, so you got to have that, employ that hamburger method. And obviously, if any of this stuff doesn't make sense, you can't find it or whatever, just let me know. Okay. So this is good. You talk about how the interview supported the results. So in this paragraph here, you should refer to figure 1. Just say something like see figure 1 or something like that in this paragraph. And that way you're referring to them and then sort of introducing it before they get to it. Now your title here is good. You don't really need figure 1 up here. You could just put the title. Down here is where you need the figure 1, and you need this part here, which is number of violent acts against people. That would be, you could rewrite that sort of in your citation here, and then you should have the full citation underneath the chart. So again, see the sample or see the easy writer for how that should look. Okay. So here's your intro. So what you might want to do is just move this sentence up there to before it, because really the first time you mention the figure should come before it. Okay. Okay, more source citations. Just fix those like I've already mentioned before. Conclusion. Okay, conclusion looks fine. Works cited is fine, other than you don't need bold, so you should remove the bold from the words works cited. This looks like it's in alphabetical order, so that's great. And you got enough sources, and you have them hanging indented. Now this one here, notice how there's all this excess space here. What you want to do is you just want to put your cursor somewhere in here where you think, like, you just want to kind of eyeball how much space this is, and then eyeball how much of this would fill that space. Let's say, and I always go a little more than just to start with. So I would say maybe start with putting your cursor right here after the question mark or before it, and then you just hit the space bar. And if you've done it right, this line, this part of it will pop back up here. Now it'll probably turn blue and become hyperlinked, so you just want to remove that hyperlink. But that's how you do that. That's how you fix that. If you hit the space bar here and this part doesn't move up here, then you might just have to move it back here until it does. Okay, keep moving it back to the left until this part pops up there. If you move it all the way back here and it's still not popping up here, then that means you may just have to redo the whole entry so that you can get it to work with it, because a lot of times it won't work so well after you have formatted stuff and everything around it. Okay, same thing with this one. This one isn't too bad, but you could fix that too if you wanted to. This one needs fixed. So yeah, most of them need to have that gap filled in if at all possible. Okay, so please get back to me as soon as possible to let me know if you've used AI, so that I can give you the opportunity to fix it and not have to report it or anything to anybody above me. Okay, so let me know if you have questions or need any help, and that will do it for this video.